What's going on, my Jets family? What's going on, everybody out there? I see Michael already there, ready to go. Love it, my brother. Every Monday. That's right. Not last Monday, because last Monday was Veterans Day. And as you guys, I'm not going to go into a whole story. My grandfather served. Many of you know, many who have served. We're not going to get into all that right now. But in honor of, Veterans Day and those who served, I didn't want to come live to you guys. I felt like it's a day that deserves respect. And I'm glad to be coming live to you guys now. Excited to be back with you. And as you guys remember, 2 weeks ago, and actually before we start, if you guys may, my apologies, I forgot. I would appreciate if you guys can please subscribe to the channel. You can do so by clicking on the logo in the bottom right-hand corner. It's opposite for me, so I always got to remember that. In the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right over here. If you can do so, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. So back into it. As you guys remember, just 2 weeks ago, we talked all about the Jets offense and how they were primed to help Zach Wilson have a huge year. That Joe Douglas has this team just stacked, right? We went through the whole offense, all the starters, how great the line looked, how great the potential of the receiving core is, how deep it is, the potential of some guys we didn't even think about, like Denzel Mims. It looks good, and it gives Zach Wilson the opportunity to be successful. We talked all about forever, right? You guys know kind of forever with me. We've talked about Zach's intelligence, his brilliance, his ability to get the game. The Jets' problem in the past, as we've always known, was surrounding the quarterback with talent, making him have the ability to be successful. We're not going to get into the Mark Sanchez years because that will pain me, probably pain you guys as well. But again, yeah, he wasn't the greatest quarterback ever, but he freaking showed that when you put a team around him, that dude can compete. You put a team around Mark Sanchez, and he'll compete with the best of them, or at least try to. And you got to freaking love that. So giving Zach Wilson the potential to compete, talked all about the offense. Now we're going to get into the defense today, because the defense obviously isn't his weapons, but are almost as important because they have to stop the other team from scoring, and they have the potential to give Zach Wilson more possessions, give him the ball more, give him more opportunities, especially in good locations potentially. So let's get into something you guys have heard me say kind of also forever since we've signed Robert Saleh. At least every month or few months or so, I say this on Twitter over and over and over again to remind people that Robert Saleh's defense is predicated on its pass rush. I said that the second we signed him, and it was obvious if you looked at the stats and the numbers and the ability, excuse me, of what his defense had done in the past. Very simple with the San Francisco 49ers. The years they had their best quality years on offense and defense, they had an excellent pass rush. Nick Bosa was healthy. I'm blanking. Armstead was healthy. I'm blanking on 49ers right now. There's a couple of key guys I'm definitely missing, but they were healthy and the pass rush was there. The defense played well when it wasn't there in years like I think it was 2020, I believe, in years where the defense was all banged up. They looked okay. They played not badly. The offense specifically carried them, but the defense wasn't anywhere near it was. In all the other years, the Robert Saleh defense, as I mentioned it when we signed him, they were like top 3 in pass defense, like top 5 in rush defense. Like they were excellent. Like it was awesome. And then the years the pass rush wasn't there, everything kind of fell apart because everyone's defense, it makes sense if you think about it. How are you going to trick a team in the NFL? The NFL, everyone knows everything, right? These guys know 1,000 more than we do. So they're trying to trick the other guy. Whatever their strength of their team is can also be their weakness. If you're predicated on the pass rush, if you don't have a pass rush, it doesn't work. It's like smoke and mirrors, right? You think you got something and then you realize, shit, it's not there. So his defense is predicated on the pass rush. And last year, we saw injuries. We went into it and we were blind-eyed. We were totally fucking rose-colored goggles. You guys agree. We were so in love with Carl Lawson, we didn't realize, wait a minute, without him, there's no edge rush. We didn't realize that until after Carl got hurt, and that sucked like hell. I mean, you guys saw me on Twitter. I was saying we were so screwed that we were literally using Shaq Lawson and Ronnie Blair as like starting edge rushers to just try to get at the quarterback, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. So Carl Lawson should be healthy this year, and I wanted to get into that a little bit. We're going to talk about that edge rush, and that's what we're going to be getting into right now. So again, appreciate all you guys here. 347 Fox Den, appreciate you too, man, saying your father served in Vietnam. I appreciate that, man. I respect your choice. Please thank your relatives for the service. Thank yours as well. Appreciate it, my man. Thank you. But back to the Jets. We finally have an edge rush. We finally have what we've needed for so long. You remember we talked about it before we signed Carl Lawson, that the Jets haven't had a top edge rusher since 2000 was the last time they drafted one. And I believe that's right. Whatever the year we took, I have to remember the exact year we took John Abraham. I don't 100% remember the top of my head. I think it's 2000. I believe it is. Whatever, it's a long ass time ago. That was the last time we had a top elite edge rusher, and we didn't even keep him. We let him go to freaking Falcons. We let him go, and he spent his career somewhere else for a long time. So finally, obviously, we signed Carl Lawson, but we saw last year with him hurt, didn't work out. So now we pivot. We transitioned to what the Jets did this year. What did we get? You guys know how I felt about Jermaine Johnson. You guys know I loved this kid. I'd said he was my best edge rusher, one of my favorites. I loved his potential. I felt like everyone was talking about Hutch, right, and Thibault and all the things they had. But I'm like, wait, Jermaine's got everything. We talked all about it. I felt he was the best run edge rusher, defensing edge rusher in that entire draft. So bring him in, man, a top 10 talent as a later pick. And then Michael Clemens. This dude, we look at Michael Clemens here for a second, and we're going to come back. We're talking about the edge rush. We're going to talk about Carl Lawson as well. But we come back to Clemens here for a second. Clemens had 7 sacks, 11 TFLs, and 2 PDs with the Aggies last year. And that's an SEC team. This dude, if you watch him play, and I've watched him play, and everyone's talking about it, he looks like a man among boys. Like people joked he should play offensive line because he's just ripped. He's just huge. He's dominant. So just crazy, right? I mean, this guy is an edge rusher, but he's huge. He's a man among boys. This guy rips people apart. You watch him. He's just so physically dominant attacking at the quarterback. And Joe Douglas pointed that out. All Joe Douglas constantly kept saying was how nasty he was, right? His nasty streak, his motor. It was just, he was a monster on the field. Pretty much were like the verbs they were using. His potential is huge. And we got Jermaine, who's the guy I'm most excited about. Carl should be healthy. Now let's come back to Carl for a second. Let's talk about Carl Lawson because he's fallen a little bit off people's radar. We were like insanely excited about him, right? And then now we got the draft picks and we're still excited. We're still excited to have him back, but let's remember why we were so excited to have Carl Lawson back. So Carl's back from his injury and Robert Saleh said he looks fantastic. He's sprinting. He's doing everything. He's ready to roll. I love this one. He says he thinks he was ready to roll the second he tore it because the guy's an animal with rehab. Literally said, I'm not worried about his availability. As we've seen with Carl Lawson, he's got banged up in the past. He's gotten hurt. He has injury history. But you guys remember we've talked about, I've said it a lot. At the NFL level, you have to come back better than when you were before if you're going to make it at this level. The guys that come back same or less, they don't cut it. They get hurt again or they just don't have it anymore. You have to come back better. Carl gets that. He's done that every time. It sucks. The dude gets hurt often. It sucks. Biting my tongue. But he comes back strong. He comes back ready. And to show that, Carl Lawson added the man himself. He said, I've had a major injury before and I came back better. I plan on being better than what I was. And you guys know that's exactly what I've been saying. And he said it. I love 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 it. He's ready to go. He's ready to roll, like Robert Saleh said. And again, let's remember, let's backtrack. Let's remember what we loved so much about Mr. Carl Lawson. So backtracking, because obviously he was out last year, going back to 2021, that season, the season before in 2020, let's remember he had 64 total pressures on the whole year. That was 4th among all edge rushers in the NFL. In his 4 years, he has 83 QB hits. That's a lot of QB hits. To give you an example, that's more, I did the math back then when I did it, that was more than every Jets player had in 2020. Every Jets player that was on the freaking team in 2020, add up their QB hits, that doesn't total what Carl Lawson had in just his 4-year career at that time, which is just crazy. More, he was ranked the 7th best disruptor from Next Gen Stats in 2020 with a disruption rate of 15.2%. That is high as crap. And he had 32 quarterback hits, 32 in 2020, 22 in 2019. That's 54 in just a 2-year span. He had 27 QB knockdowns in 2020, which was first in the NFL. Not TJ Watt. Carl Lawson had 27 QB knockdowns in 2020. Now, man, we look at what he's done. We look at what he is. It's exciting. Like we said, he comes back better. You remember, that's what I kept saying, and he said it himself. He's ready to roll. And man, you factor in what Jermaine Johnson can be. You factor in the beast, the behemoth that is Michael Clemens. If you guys remember on Twitter, if you hadn't seen it just the other day, literally woke up from a dream where I don't know what kind of crazy triangle formation I made in my head, but I had 3 edges on a line, and I had Clemens, JJ, and Carl coming at the same time. And I just woke up like, yes, yeah, like it was awesome. So I'm telling you, man, like, I don't know how they're going to, but those guys just interchangeable. It's exciting, bro. It is so freaking exciting. And that's just the edge. Let's talk about the interior for a second. So John Franklin Myers, Mr. John Franklin Myers, he had a really good year until he got paid last year, which again, I appreciate. I don't think being paid had any factor. I don't. But it just turned out that he kind of got neutralized after that point. Before that, he was dominating. And people say it didn't look good, but that's just because he was being told. It's not like he didn't try. Watch the game. It's not like John Franklin Myers didn't try. I've had him on the show, as you guys know, have absolute amazing respect for the man. Awesome individual. Definitely wasn't that he didn't try. He got neutralized more. Now, Robert Saleh admitted it when they interviewed him and asked him, well, you got all these edges now that you didn't have last year. Can JFM play on the inside? He almost immediately was like, JFM is playing on the inside. He even went as far to say JFM plays his best football on the inside of the line, and that's where the dude belongs. Now, shit, wait a minute. So you got Quinnen Williams, we all know who he is. Problem is he gets double teamed. When you have, like last year, there's no one else on the line. Yeah, Quinnen's ass has got 2 guys on him every play. Well, that can't happen anymore because you got to factor for Carl, and you're probably going to have to factor for JJ and Clemens and JFM because JFM's coming from that inside, baby. So you got your 2 edge rushers we talked about, maybe 3. Let's see how they figure this triangle out. They got their interior guys. They got Quinnen just killing it. Man, next spot, you got JFM, and let's not forget you even got Solomon Thomas. You got a guy like Solomon Thomas now who's proven. I pointed it out when we signed him that he's an interior guy. He was an interior guy all at Stanford. That's where he dominated and made it as a high pick. We talked about it. If you guys remember, we won't go too much into it, but that's what Robert Saleh used him out of position, and he basically, if you guys want to check it out, in that old episode I talked about it, Robert Saleh used him out of position. I bet he turned to Joe and said, let me make this right. Like, he's proven with the Raiders and proven that you put him on the inside, and the guy's a factor. The guy is a freaking factor. So, man, coming back, we have an edge rush. We have a pass rush. We have a pass rush. And like we said, Robert Saleh's defense is predicated on said pass rush. So now that the pass rush is there, everything else opens up, and that's kind of the point. And I come to, and people might disagree with me, and hear me out. Hear me out. Most people said our linebackers were the worst part of our defense last year, and that's true. Maybe our pass rush might have been worse, honestly, but the linebackers were not a great part. However, this season, I feel like they're a little slept on, and here's why. You guys saw the stats I put out on CJ Mosley, on Quincy Williams, how together they were tackling machines. They were dominant. People point out it's because the pass rush was porous and it let guys through. Well, yeah, the line was, that's the point. They were playing cleanup most of the time in a new system. You look at quarterbacks, it's a major transition, but even at other positions, it doesn't get enough credit. There is a transition, and the best example is Denzel Mims. Look what happened last year to a guy with clear talent, but sick, not healthy, doesn't get the playbook, just doesn't understand. We saw it last year. Like when people pointed that out, I thought back, it makes a lot of sense. His alignments, his missteps, everything was a misstep. He didn't understand the playbook. That was the freaking sad truth of it. So we talked last week about he can be a lot better, but it takes time to adjust. CJ Mosley, as we saw, veteran, former Pro Bowl player, he adopted quickly. He adopted very quickly. Quincy took a little time, but as everyone saw, got better as the season went on. Quincy in the offseason talked about how he's wanted to become a leader and be more vocal. And he followed CJ Mosley last year to get more of how the team operates, to become more vocal, to get the guys and stuff. And now he feels ready. The two of them dominated as tacklers playing cleanup because of a bad porous line in a system that they just learned. Now, with a pass rush that is going to also help against the run and open things up for them, I think they are slept on. And the reason is, we'll factor in a third guy. Jamie Sherwood looked very good last year before he got hurt. I was like, you guys all know, I thought Hamza was the guy. I'm like, Hamza's definitely the guy, and don't get me wrong, he can still be. And that's another point linebacker slept on. You got a guy like Hamza, dude was a monster at Florida State. I loved this kid. I felt that in that draft, and he still might be, I felt he was going to prove to be the biggest gem found basically in that draft for the late round that he was, like a steal, basically the best steal of that draft. And it could potentially still happen because, again, you look at what he did at Florida State. I've talked about it. It was amazing. But Sherwood last year came in and he looked good. He got hurt kind of quickly, unfortunately, but he looked good in the Mike position of all positions. And what does that do? That frees CJ Mosley up and Quincy Williams to roam a little bit. Right, man? That frees them up to play on the outside and kind of cover that whole field. And we saw Quincy get better at coverage. CJ's always been pretty good at coverage. Man, you got them kind of blanketing the field on the sides, running fast as hell sideline to sideline and knocking people the heck out. And then you got Jamie Sherwood playing in the middle, who I talked about it when he came out of Auburn. This dude's a hammer. This dude, the coach, when they interviewed his coach, the first thing he said was literally like, I don't have the exact quote up, but he called him a hammer. And what he basically said, if you guys remember, I put a famous quote out. He was the guy it was when we signed him. He basically said, how do you stop 4.3 speed? You hit it. That's what he said. You hit it hard, and that's it. And that's exactly it. So, man, that's a little slept on, and I'm calling that right now. With that better pass rush we talked about, with a better pass rush, opening up the linebackers to not have to play cleanup, to not have to find an alignment or get a million tackles and to focus on other things in the system now that they've played in now in a year. They're more comfortable. They understand the alignments. Like Quincy said, he feels more like a leader. He feels more ready to go. They could be a little slept on. They could be a little slept on. Excuse me, guys. So we've talked about a lot of the defense so far. We've talked about this pass rush, which is what's most important. We talked about the linebackers. I can't wait to get to the secondary, man. Let's talk a little bit about this secondary, because this secondary is banging. And it's because of the CB spot, man. We are loaded. Freaking loaded at the CB spot now, and I love it. You guys remember my take in the offseason was I didn't think it was a bad room then. Bryce Hall, I thought, was massively slept on, and I still think he is, and Robert Saleh confirmed it. And we're going to talk about that too. And Brandon Echols, I thought, had a really quality year, and Robert Saleh did point out that Brandon Echols has also put on weight, has bulked up, and looks really good. Obviously, he's behind a lot of guys, but depth is not a problem. Anyone who's like, we got too many guys, you guys haven't been Jet fans long enough, right? I mean, us who've been Jet fans, we're like, shit, who's going to play? Remember, I joked with my dad, throw me gloves, I'll catch the fucking ball. Like, what are we going to do? Depth is a great problem to have. So we all know who Sauce Gardner is. We've talked 1,000 times about Sauce Gardner and who Sauce Gardner is and the potential and what he brings. He's going to be a lockdown CB1. DJ Reed, we know what he brings. We know what he is. We know he was the only, again, bright spot of Seattle secondary. You know, that excellent outside corner that for them was a CB1. He said it. Remember, he said, I'm a CB1. My numbers match with the best. I compared it. He ain't wrong. His numbers do match up with the best. It ain't a lie. Now we factor in Bryce Hall, who many people, again, said, oh, he may not start. But I come to this. I want to show you Jordan Whitehead had a press conference the other day, and he mentioned how he thinks this secondary can be one of the best he's ever been a part of. And, I love that, man. They had a good secondary with the Tampa Bay. They definitely did. He's saying this could be one of the best he's ever been with. He said these guys are hungry. He talked about DJ being a leader. Then he said we got big young corners on the outside in Sauce and Bryce. Okay, then. He mentioned Bryce by name. And even bigger was Robert Saleh when they asked him about, are you just going to give Sauce the position? That's basically what they said. I love it. You know how Robert Saleh works. You could be drafted first overall. You ain't getting shit. No one's handing you shit. You earn it. That's how life works. You earn it. You ain't the magic wonder child that just, was crapped out of an angel. You earn it. So Robert Saleh without a beat goes, Sauce was drafted 4th overall, but he still has to earn it. Bryce Hall has started. He's taken the 1 reps, and it ain't for show. You got to earn your right to play. Bryce is attacking every moment, and he's doing everything he can to keep himself exactly where he's been. And I'm like, oh, shit. That's what I'm saying, because Hall is good, and we've talked about it. Everyone's saying, he's not going to have a shot, but if they're giving Hall a legit shot, Hall's been legit. We got to give him the factor for that. People are saying, he's not an interception guy, and that's true. Granted, he's only played 1 full year ever. Granted, in his rookie year, he came in late because he was injured, remember, in college. And everyone talked about, and I talked about it too, that if he wasn't injured, he could have been a potential late 1st-round pick. That's how talented this freaking kid was. Well, we get him. He lights it up his rookie year in little time, starts his next year. We talked about what he did. I just want to, again, for the sake of Bryce Hall, because he doesn't get enough credit. In his 2nd full year, his 1st full season, which was last year. Let's just go through this for a second. He had 11 PDs in single coverage alone, just single coverage. That was 2nd in the entire NFL, not the Jets, 2nd in the entire NFL. He had 6 forced incompletions on red zone passes. That was 1st among all CBs. Every CB that exists, it was number 1. The list goes on. He had 16 total PDs. That was the most any Jets players had since 2013, which is almost a decade. This year, it's almost a decade. So most of any Jets players in 2013, and it was 1st among all 2nd-year cornerbacks. And we know Bryce was drafted in the 5th round, way after a lot of other quarterbacks. But it was 1st of all 2nd-year cornerbacks and tied for 6th in the entire NFL. So I kept saying, this guy isn't an interception guy. He could turn into that. But if you say he's not a lockdown corner, the numbers don't lie. That's how it works. Stats don't lie. You can feel one way or another. It's fine. But numbers don't lie. When a guy put ups like we point up with Carl Lawson, like I pointed out, when a guy's putting up the most QB knockdowns in the entire NFL, when he's healthy, that tells you he's a freaking beast. That's what that tells you. Numbers, stats don't lie. They tell you the truth. People lie. The numbers don't lie. And the numbers tell you that, Bryce Hall's not a pick guy, but he is 100% a lockdown potential CB1. With Sauce on the outside with him, DJ, I don't know. Again, I don't know how this rotation is going to work. I kind of was like, again, I thought DJ and Bryce were going to compete for that spot. Sauce was going to kind of get it. Like Saleh pointed out, Sauce, has to earn it. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, for all we know, week 1, I ain't saying it's going to happen, but maybe week 1, the starters are Hall and DJ on the outside, and Sauce is like, in on occasion potentially. And then when he starts to shine, I don't know. Again, I don't know. But again, the point is, this is a great problem to have. This is a wonderful problem to have, right? You guys, like, we're arguing who's going to play, and not like a way of like, oh shit, there's nobody. Like, who's going to play, and there's all this talent. It's great. It's great. And we talked about Brandon Echols, who's totally buried right now, but dude, again, put on weight. Like, obviously it's not as a big deal as Wilson putting on weight, but he did put on weight going into his 2nd year, which is something to be said. He's ready to develop, and he looked good. I remember I pointed out too, he had 2 interceptions last year, I think 10 PDs, give or take, in his 1st year playing in the NFL. A lot of potential there. And Michael Carter II looked like an emerging star at slot corner. So, man, love it. And our secondary is just banging because of that CB spot. Now, we look at the safety position. It ain't as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I mean, you got Jordan Whitehead back there. You guys know we paid him for a reason. This dude is a freaking wrecking ball. I put a picture out if you didn't see it on Twitter. The guy's like, the guy looks like LaRon Landry did when he was ripped out of his mind. Like, he is just shredded, and he is a freaking wrecking ball. This dude terminates people. So at free safety, I've said LaMarcus Joyner slept on, and here's why. Excuse me. Here's why I think so. At free safety, we've seen plenty of excellent corners transition to that position later in their career and excel for like another 5-6 years. We saw Charles Woodson do it. Charles Woodson in his early 30s transitioned from corner to safety And he was one of the best he's one of the best safeties in the NFL for like 6 years in a row. Like, that's a normal transition because you can be older at that position. So yes, LaMarcus Joyner was out all of 2020. And yes, he's going to be, I think he's 31 now. I think he's going to be 32 at some point. But still, that's not terribly old for that position. And I pointed it out. When LaMarcus Joyner in his whole career has exclusively played safety, free safety, he's got over 90 PFF average. So this dude is a good free safety. And let's not forget a guy like Jason Pinnock, who was coming on last year, right? Pinnock was a rookie. You guys remember, I talked all about his potential. Like, he was putting up numbers. If you guys remember, I pointed this out. In 2020, he was putting up numbers that rivaled Derek Stingley. And I was like, what? Like, wait a minute, what? Like, wait a minute. So he has a lot of potential if he can be a safety, and he really started to come on at the end of last year. Man, we talk about how lightning this freaking cornerback room is, how stacked on stacked it is, how good it was before. We were so excited when we signed DJ Reed. We're like, this cornerback room is amazing. Then we get Sauce Gardner, and our heads explode, and we're like, our CB room is elite. Like, that's the transition. We went from like borderline potential great to borderline potential elite. Like, that was the transition. And it was like, oh my God. So the safety room ain't bad either. And like we've talked about in the past, it's kind of like with that pass rush making things easier. If the corners are damn good, it makes the safety's job easier. If the corners are freaking outstanding, the safeties can be okay and they'll look better. They'll look better than they actually are because the corners are playing so well. So I like it, man. I like it. And it all comes down to this whole defense playing a lot better than last year, significantly better. Because again, the whole thing we started with, the whole kit and caboodle, is the predication of the pass rush. And we talked about how great this pass rush looks. We talked about why the linebackers, because of the pass rush being better, are slept on. And the secondary, man, this defense, prime. This defense is primed. And remember, Robert Saleh talked about it. And if you guys remember, Brian McFadden, he personally wanted he wanted Stingley, but you remember, we understood his logic. His logic was he likes interceptions. He likes a guy that turns the ball over and gets it for his quarterback to give him more possessions. And I loved that answer. I was like, shit, I love it. Like, give Zach twice as many possessions every game. Like, that's the shit I want, right? So Sauce can become an interception guy. So can Hall, who's a young guy, and DJ is a freaking interception guy. You factor in Whitehead, who murders people, and Joyner's a pretty decent interception guy. There can be some ball hawks back there. And if they can get the ball, or at least, cause third downs, obviously cause punts, if they can play at a quality level, which again was the whole point of this, if the defense can play at a high quality level, the offense will be better just naturally. They'll be better because they have more possessions. They're not down. They probably be up, right? If you can score 20 plus points a game, but your defense is only letting up 14, that's some awesome shit. Like, I love for us to keep scoring more, but that could be, a winning formula in the beginning. Our defense allowing Zach to thrive with some success, which motivates and inspires everyone on the offense, which leads to even more success. And that's what you want. So again, this defense, man, it's ready to roll. This defense is ready to roll, and this train is ready to leave the station. And we talked again 2 weeks ago how prime that offense is and how talented it is. We talked about this defense now. Man, Joe Douglas has done it, right? Joe Douglas, right now, I think Zach Wilson will be the guy. I truly do. But Joe Douglas, he's done it. Joe Douglas has 1,000% done it. I've been saying he's great for a while. God bless Mr. Joe Douglas. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you guys for being part of the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. 347 Fox then asked about Michael Clemens. We mentioned him earlier. I think you caught it up. David points out, yo, what's up? You just highlighted the talent on the D-line. It'd be limited 35 snaps a game in this partially rotation, according to Olbrich. That's an interesting one, and I think little interesting topic if you guys want to just go there before we close. If you guys remember, in the beginning of the season, the offense was struggling. And yes, obviously there's a learning curve. There's a learning curve to it because Mike LaFleur was a first-year offensive coordinator. You have a rookie quarterback. Me and Green Bean, you guys know, big fan of Mr. Green Bean. He comes on, we talk, we chat all the time. When Green Bean was on last week, that time, back when we were talking, we talked about that. And we talked about, could Mike LaFleur maybe be the problem? We didn't say we 100% knew it was, right? We're not experts. We didn't say we knew it was, but we questioned what if, right? We questioned what if. Well, Mike LaFleur was in his first year. Jeff Olbrich is not. Jeff Ulbrich, again, he wasn't always a DC, but he has that experience. He's been in this before. So many have questioned it. And the question has been, was Ulbrich the problem? Maybe does Sella need to claim more defensive play calling? Well, that could be interesting to see. That could remain to be seen. And we've seen that before. We've seen head coaches when teams are struggling, let's say, we've seen head coaches decide, hey, I'm going to take the offensive play calling or the defensive play calling just to shake it up and change it a little bit. And then the offensive coordinator, is still part of the equation. He's still, in the guy coaches here. So that could be interesting to see. But yeah, I think Ulbrich's going to have to prove that he's obviously the talent's there now. The talent's there. So I think this defense can be really good. But yeah, he's potentially eyes are on him, right? Eyes are on Ulbrich. He's a guy that I should be on. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys tuning in. You guys know any comments you ever want to bring, questions, bring it up, anything you want to bring. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. I appreciate you guys subscribing. And if you haven't done so, you can do so again by clicking on the logo in this side. In the corner of the screen. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. As you know, we're here every Monday. So tune in at 7 p.m. because you might miss the beginning. You want to catch it all. Every Monday, 7 p.m. We're live. Excited to be with you guys. I appreciate, again, all you guys tuning in and taking part of the podcast. I hope you guys have a great, great rest of your week. As you know, like I keep saying, we're trending up. Our time is coming, baby, and I can't wait. So again, thank you for coming in, and here we go. Let's go, Jets.